Assalamu alaikum dear students. This is Department of English, Government Postgraduate College, Attak. I am Nasir Ali Shah. Students, we are reading the second chapter of the textbook using the scientific method. Under the two headings we have read so far, the two aspects of our lives in which we have got great benefits from the use of science or scientific method. And today we are going to read the next aspect which the writer has described in this essay, in which we have got great benefits due to science or scientific method. And the heading is More Food and Better Foods. Changes have taken place too in our eating habits. Here the writer says that due to the use of science or scientific method, where the changes have taken place in other fields of our lives, or in other words we may say that different fields of our life or different aspects of our life have been improved a lot, or the great changes have occurred there due to science. So in the same manner, in our eating habits, changes have taken place due to science or scientific method. Through the use of science, we have learned that it is healthful to eat many kinds of food. Due to science or due to the use of science, we have learned, means due to modern knowledge, we have come to know that it is very beneficial for our health. Healthful means it is good for health, or suitable or beneficial for our health, that it is helpful to eat many kinds of food. It means that this modern knowledge has come to us, or we have got this knowledge due to science or due to the investigations of science, that eating only one type of food isn't very helpful or isn't very good or useful for our body, for our physical needs of our body. Rather, eating different kinds of food is definitely helpful and useful for us. And we have learned how to provide ourselves with a variety of foods throughout the year. Moreover, not only we have learned through science that eating different kinds of food is very helpful or beneficial for our health. Moreover, we have learned also that how to provide ourselves, means how to get a variety of foods. Variety means different kinds of foods throughout the year. How those different kinds of food can be available to us throughout the year, in the summer season as well as in the winter or spring, or as well as in the autumn season. People who lived a century ago probably enjoyed eating as much as we do today, but they could not have as many different kinds of food. Here the writer compares the eating habits or the availability of foods which was available to the people who lived a century ago or 100 years ago. The writer compares them with today's people, and the writer says that people who lived a century ago or the people who lived 100 years ago probably mean possibly, most possibly, they enjoyed eating as much as we do today. Means they enjoyed eating the foods which were available to them in that time period. They definitely would have enjoyed that. But there is one difference, that they could not have as many different kinds of food. They were not so fortunate like us, like modern people living in today's age, that they could not have as many different kinds of food as we do have today. Means today we have a variety of foods available, different vegetables, pulses, different kinds of meats, or different kinds of fast food, burger, shawarma, pizza, etc., etc. These different kinds of foods are always available to us in this modern time period, and this is all possible due to science or scientific inventions. Most of their foods had to be produced on their own farms or on their own gardens, as there was no way of freezing or preserving the different kinds of foods. So most of their foods that the people ate in that time period at 100 years ago, or even more than that. Most of the foods had to be produced on their own farms and or on their own gardens. Means they used to eat only fresh vegetables or fruits or different kinds of food which were grown on their agriculture farms or in their gardens. Since fresh vegetables could be obtained only during the growing season, people living in cold climates had none during the winter months. Since fresh vegetables could be obtained mean got, as fresh vegetables in that era or in that time period 100 years ago, fresh vegetables could only be got or obtained only during the growing season. Growing season mean the cultivation of different vegetables or fruit when the vegetables grow there on the plants. So only fresh vegetables could be obtained only during the growing season. So due to this reason, people living in cold climates had none during the winter months. So the people who lived in cold climates or in such areas where the climate or environment or atmosphere was very cold, especially in those areas where is a lot of where there is a lot of snowfall. As we know that in those parts of the world where there is a lot of rainfall or snowfall, less crops grow. So people who lived in cold climates or in those areas where the climate was very cold, especially in mountainous areas or where the snow falls a lot, so they had nothing to eat during the winter months, or they could not have obtained the fresh fruits or vegetables during winter months. Thrifty housewives preserved their homegrown vegetables and fruits by canning, pickling, or drying them for use during the cold weather. Thrifty means prudent or frugal, or in other words, we may say thrifty is a person who is very careful in the use of money or goods. Means who spends very carefully money or different things. So thrifty housewives mean women controlling household or women keeping the house, who generally work or control their household activities. So thrifty housewives, or in other words, those housewives who were very careful in spending money or spending different things, they had their own methods of preserving foods to use in the cold weather, because they knew that in the cold weather, in the winter months, they could not be able to obtain fresh vegetables. And what was their method of preserving those foods? They preserved their homegrown vegetables and fruits. Homegrown means which they grew in their own farms or in their own gardens in the houses, by canning. Canning means getting food in the cans or in the tin pack by canning. Pickling. Pickling means keeping different vegetables, fruits, or even meats good in their good condition by salting or with the help of vinegar. So it is called pickle or pickling. This was the method of preserving different kinds of foods, which was used by different frugal and thrifty housewives, canning, pickling, or drying them for use during the cold weather. These are the different methods that were used for preserving the food, so that they could not be spoiled and they could be preserved for a long time, so that they could be used during the winter months. Meats were preserved by salting or drying or by freezing when the weather was cold enough. Meats means different kinds of meats. It can be meats of goat or lambs, or even other animals, cows or buffaloes or deer or wild animals, or even a fish. So meats of different kind were preserved by salting or drying or by freezing when the weather was cold enough. Seafoods were generally available only along the coast. Seafoods mean all the things, or all the foods, all the things which are used as food, which are obtained from the sea, including fish and other things. So seafoods were generally mean commonly available only along the coast. Means these things, as they could not be preserved for a long time, so these things could not have been provided to the far-flung areas. So these things were, or seafoods were only available along the coast, means along the seashore. The people who lived along the seashore or near the seashore or near the coast, they could enjoy the seafoods. Fish and shellfish could be eaten soon after they were caught. Different kinds of fish or shellfish could be eaten soon after they were caught, because there was no method of preserving them, or there was no method of transporting these seafoods to other far off areas, and they were spoiled very soon, so they could be eaten soon after they were caught. This was the situation almost 100 years ago in regards with the food's availability or in eating habits. Now the writer compares this situation with the present day. Regardless of where people live today, regardless means without considering or ignoring. It means that it does not make any difference where people live today, whether they live near the coast, whether they live in the pleasant climates, or whether they live in the cold climates. Regardless of people, where people live today, they can obtain some fresh fruits, meats and vegetables throughout the year. Now there is no problem of the people living in any part of the world, or whether they live in cities where there are a lot of facilities of freezing different things, or whether they live in villages or on the mountains or in cold climates, in hilly areas, in those areas where a lot of snow falls, or along the sea coast. They can obtain, means they can get some fresh fruits, meats and vegetables throughout the year. By the how this has become possible, here the writer describes. By the quick freeze method. This is a scientific method through which different foods can be frozen very quickly in a short time. So by the help of quick freeze method, vegetables, fruits, seafoods and meats of various kinds can be preserved so that they are both nutritious and enjoyable. So with the help of this quick freeze method, different kinds of vegetables, fruits, seafoods and meats of various mean different kinds of meats, can be preserved. They can be preserved so that they are both nutritious. Nutritious mean they are conducive for health, they are good for health, they have their nutrients within, as well as enjoyable, means their taste does not gets changed. Their taste is not spoiled due to this quick freeze method. So even after so many days, when the frozen foods are used, they are nutritious as well as enjoyable. Modern methods of selecting, grading and processing foods have removed the risk or danger of poisoning from canned foods. Another modern method of preserving food has proved very useful, and through this method, before preservation of different foods, different steps are adopted. Selecting, grading means different grades of the foods, vegetables or fruit are made. The best quality of fruit is called A grade, then even lesser than that is called B grade, or even lesser than that is called C grade. So selecting those things, grading them and processing means cleaning and preserving chemically. This method has removed the risk or danger of poisoning from canned foods. Through this method, those canned foods which are preserved in the cans or tin packs, there is no risk or there is no danger of poisoning of those foods. Dehydration is another method. Dehydration means removal of water. Dehydration or removal of water from such foods as milk, eggs, potatoes, and apples has proved a practical method of preservation. Here is another method of preservation which is called dehydration, or in simple words it may be called removal of water. For example, removal of water from milk, eggs, potatoes, and apples or some other fruits. This method has proved a very useful and practical method of preservation. Through these methods, these foods can be preserved easily so that they are both nutritious and enjoyable even after a long time. So this is enough for today's lecture. We shall continue reading the text with explanation in our next lecture. Till then, goodbye.